signal over value.
Over value, over noise. Yeah, but it's signal over signal that signaling
Nice.
what value.
So there is a lot of noise in the market, right? And people talking about AI bubble all the time, and you have all these doomers and gloomers, and we are here to bring the signal, right? To shut up that noise and the headlines and the big media and actually talk about real tech, real investing, and what real people do.
Yeah, real investing, real product development. And I think like the background is that both like myself, Joseph, I've been working in consulting and then in startup, and we both me and you, Enrique, we have both been in different tech waves basically. So I think we've seen a lot of things that really works and really does not work the last 5 to 10 years, if not more
Mm-hmm.
than so. Like things have been super speculative. People have been burning marketing money to push out ideas, and it didn't yield things. But some actually did.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And like you said, we have been through other phases where we saw a lot of what doesn't work, right? And seeing what doesn't work really helps you to understand what actually works and what's necessary to work.
Yeah. No, definitely, and I think that's really the back into the podcast to both like Enrique is like an amazing person in terms of crunching the numbers and see what the actual fundamentals say, which should be the basis for every kind of decision financially, to have like a proper fundamental analysis behind it, right? And I've been working in innovation consulting, digital transformation consulting, very focused on user experience and utilizing design thinking to talk with real people and to understand what their problem is, and actually build solutions that solves that. And it seems simple, but when you have been in the tech space for a while, you see that a lot of people just build things without solving a real problem and talking with real people. And that's why Combinator says like you should talk with people and build a product. And
Mm-hmm.
in the investment world, I would say it's the same. You should talk with people and invest. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
This was our people already talk a lot about this like over 15 years ago. You know the book Lean Startup by Eric Ries? And back then he also used to run an event called the Lean Startup Machine. And actually I was a co-organizer of a Lean Startup Machine event like 15 years ago in Lisbon. And one of the mottos of the Lean Startup Machine of this event is get out of the building. So actually get out of the building and go talking with people while you are developing the product and ask questions and show them the MVP and get feedback, very active feedback. And I guess now that's kind of pretty common in the startup world, but like 15 years ago, people were still not so clear. But then like we currently look at some areas in the tech space, so and people are still not getting out of the building and talking with real people, right? It's very niche,
yeah.
very community centered.
And I think it's also when you've been in tech for a while, you also understand that there can be technology that's super promising, but in terms of user adoption and behavioral adoption of certain trends, it's take a while. So like for something to really take off, it also needs to be the right timing. Like you need to the policies like on the governmental level needs to be in place. Like if the regulatory framework's not there as well, then like there's a lot of risk that makes that space to not take off properly. So it's all different aspects that are important for good businesses to take off, right? And that is what we want to discuss. So today we will discuss is AI a bubble, and a lot of people have a lot of things to say and about this topic, and that has been debated last years. But yeah, let's start with some facts. Basically, like the hyperscalers in the world, Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft, they have increased their CapEx with billions and billions of dollars. So they really put in money to showcase that they believe that this is a real space. So maybe, Enrique, you would like to touch upon the numbers that are out there and the trends in this area.
Here the Microsoft's balance sheets and income statements to actually check their CapEx spending over the last quarter, which went up tremendously. And that's one of the reasons why some of these hyperscalers, including Microsoft, Amazon, their stocks are now lagging behind, especially Microsoft. Microsoft stock is actually considering the fundamental ratios, it's at the lowest in like 10 years. And I think the biggest fear here is that people are saying that these hyperscalers are investing a lot in CapEx, and sooner or later the margins will compress and they will find it themselves in a mismatch between CapEx investing and earnings. But so far, that's something we haven't been seeing. So far, actually, these CapEx and the depreciation of what matters here in terms of accounting is the CapEx depreciation. It's actually going hand in hand with earnings. Yeah, what we see here is in yellow the AI revenue, and in black the AI CapEx depreciation. And the thing about depreciation is that different investments made by companies have different depreciation schedules. And people have been saying, oh, GPUs might get obsolete earlier than the depreciation schedule of the GPUs, but actually wrong. So a GPU can be 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 years old and continue to work. So what we start to see now is that definitely AI revenue is higher than the CapEx depreciation. So there is a positive margin there, positive earnings there. And while 2023, 2024, even 25, that was not the case. But now we can see that these investments are really paying off. Let me know once you can see.
Yes, I see the Microsoft Corp chart here. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So when we look at here statements, and now we go to cash flow, and as you can see here, we have, let me put quarterly. In the last quarter, so we have here actually already 3 quarters of 20. And what we see here is that capital expenditures, as you can see, has been increasing almost every quarter since 2024, right? We have 13 billion, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 29, 30. And so it's growing a lot. And most of these capital expenditures are from data center investments. And that's why Microsoft stock has been lagging behind. But I think these fears are a bit overblown, because now at the moment when you look at Microsoft stock, so Microsoft stock since the beginning of the year went down, like 30 something percent. But when you look at the P ratio at the moment is the lowest in a very long time. Is at the moment lower than it was at the bottom of the bear market of 2022. It's pretty crazy, right? The forward P ratio is the lowest in, I don't know, need to really go back a lot in time. The forward P ratio is at the same level it was in December 2018. So, and the same to
what is
the
your
price
take?
sales.
What is your take? What is your interpretation of this for interested listeners?
My interpretation is basically, I think most investors are missing how Microsoft, Amazon, other hyperscalers make money. And they are building the infrastructure for AI, and these CapEx spending will have a matching revenue with a positive margin. And I think there are other shiny objects out there, probably other like the semiconductor companies, memory companies that are more attractive at the moment. And people just forgot that Microsoft, Amazon, these are also companies that will benefit a lot from this AI revolution. Yeah, I think that's the main take.
And yeah, that's good. What is your take on, like, because Microsoft is not, at least according to my what I'm seeing, not on the forefront in terms of frontier models and like the interface. So I haven't seen that expenditure actually got into products that people are utilizing on the major scale. If you compare to like OpenAI and Anthropic, and also Google and Gemini. That's one part. But I do now, when I'm thinking about it, I also see that for what I'm sitting here in Hong Kong and also what I know back in Sweden where I come from, I do know that a lot of companies and enterprises with major balance sheets and good like annual revenue, they would never go outside the Microsoft sphere. So they want to apply AI tools within their whole in the products that they're already utilizing. But yeah, what is your take on it? Because it's not Microsoft is definitely there. They struck a deal with Anthropic and having co-work in their Anthropic's to co-work within their product suite. But yeah, what is your take on it? Because they haven't seen that kind of ROI from what I know yet. If you compare to Google, that was counted out, their stock price really plummeted due to when ChatGPT came out and people said no one will Google anymore. But they really shifted this around and built out Gemini and was able to take back market share. Yeah, that's my thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Microsoft needs to have a frontier model of their own. Like Amazon doesn't have either, right? As far as I know, or at least not very well known. And Amazon is the market leader when it comes AWS, when it comes to cloud computing. And I think Microsoft is in number 2, right? Microsoft Azure at the moment, they have 20-something% of market share when it comes to cloud computing. So you can say probably that roughly speaking, whether you have the Anthropic deal or not, roughly speaking, 20-something%, probably 20-something% of the AI models out there, people using AI, they are deploying on Microsoft Azure. If you have big corporations that use Azure, they will deploy their AI models on Azure. So I think that's how they will benefit from this. So I'm not even looking much at
cloud
Copilot.
play, basically. It's basically a cloud play and having the infrastructure. That's a good take on it.
I see them mostly as a cloud play. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and also too, regarding the question, is this a bubble? I want to share a couple of thoughts about this area. I think as long as we mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, that we have been in tech for the last couple of years, both me and Henrique, basically the last decade in one way or another. And I have never seen a technology that, like, everyone from my mother to like the people that are on like the front end of tech are utilizing almost on a daily basis. And also like that Pope wrote an edict about like talking about how to morally handle this technology. I never seen that. So in terms of like general user adoption, I haven't at least encountered anything that had so much promise that people utilizing so much. So I think that's one point. Yes, the prevalence of the conversation and the people in all kind of different spheres of society actually utilizing the tool. The second I would say is I do think that companies like Anthropic's like spend like revenue have really gone gangbuster in the beginning of the year. But I do assume that also comes to a lot of people spending a lot of tokens, that experimenting, people take it in their operations. But to know if there is an actual ROI and clear ROI for the token spending, that's a big question. If that is already there and companies seeing that, I hear mixed signals in the market regarding that. If the token spend is worth from an ROI and P&L perspective, so I think that is it would not surprise me if there would be correction revenue wise in the short term, but I would say in the long term, I do believe that will change because people will optimize use AI better and get more efficient compared to token spend. That's two reflections I have. What is your reflections based on this, Henrique?
Yeah, you have a very interesting take regarding the ROI. I think we are still, AI is very new, right? It's been around only for a few years. And I think the market is still kind of in a price discovery, or should I say ROI discovery mode. Like what's exactly the ROI that AI can bring to my organization? But really the genie is out of the bottle and no one is going back to using less AI. Like if we compare to a pre-dot-com crash, 1988, 99, 2000, like there was still, it really lacked a lot of adoption. Most people, probably 99% of the people were not confident enough to put their credit card on the internet, right?
Yeah.
And to do online shopping.
Yeah.
probably you and me, we're like quite young back then, right? But I don't know anyone of my parents or friends of my parents. No one would buy online in 2000, right? Probably it was a
That's
very
crazy.
small,
Yeah.
very small minority of the population. But now everyone is like, I don't know, at least in our circle, I'm curious to see what people on the street will do or say, but everyone in our circle is spending hundreds of dollars every month in AI tokens, right? In AI subscriptions. And I at least for me and for you, there is no way I'm going to spend less money in AI unless it becomes very, very efficient. But I feel that over the last few years, I just keep spending more on AI, and I think that's a big difference when compared to dot-com crash 20 something years ago. That now there is like real spending, and these companies have real revenue, real income, real margins. Yeah, so that's kind of the way I see it. Yeah.
No, I think it's a good take. I agree to some extent, to most extent, but I want to also put in the caveat. I think from like a retail or business perspective, where you and me are, we will definitely spend more on AI. I'm very much sure of that. Like more a subscription, buying more tokens, because we see the efficiency and also that the efficiency of AI in all the different things there. I do think bigger companies, you hear crazy stories of people buying an Anthropic subscription. They haven't capped the token spend for the
Mm.
organization, and people spending double or triple, or if not more, of their
Spending like
salary every
millions and
month,
millions of
basically.
dollars. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I would definitely assume that that will go down and have to go down if this will be a sustainable like way of utilizing AI. So I think that's the caveat I would like to add to that conversation. But this brings me to my next topic that I want to lift up, and that's the hardware part of AI, and especially the memory part of AI. Because I think my take is the more I use the different tools out there, my reflections are the following. Like, you used to say that data is the new oil, and I think that's true. But in the AI space, I think context is the new oil. That if you have a perfect context about yourself, what you do, that always will be loaded and have as a pre-context when you start a new chat with your AI tool, then you will get that output that you want way quicker, and you will hence also get the token spend that are way less. So you can see Perplexity now having like a very clear memory tab when you're utilizing Perplexity. You can see everything that will be chatting around. I'm using Hermes for like building my own vault and my own memory layer about myself, and that creates skills and train and create like generate information and synthesize information myself every time I use it. But that also goes back to the hardware part of memory, like not just the usage when we interact with memory, but also the hardware. And my understanding is like three major companies today are dominating that space. And two are Koreans, SK Hynix and Samsung. Samsung we probably everyone know about. And also the US based is called Micron. And then China is coming up with two other ones taking the space. And my understanding, a lot of their stock have gone gangbusters also lately, because people that use AI start to understand the need of that to use AI efficiently. Maybe you have any data to show regarding the memory layer and some reflections regarding memory and context.
Yeah, of course, I do have some data to share, but the first thing that comes to my mind when you're talking about Hermes and that it's building up all these skills and knows you very well, it reminds me of this amazing book by Max Tegmark called Life 3.0. And this book is already many years old, but back then he already said that AIs, there will be a point that will know everything about you. Just the same way you talk with Google every time you make a search, Google knows the search, right? And improves the search results for you. Now we are doing the same soon with AI. You are already using OpenCloud and Hermes, and I think probably sooner or later everyone will have these AI agents, and these AI agents will just accumulate information and information, more information about you in a safe manner. I hope this information is hosted somewhere like safe. But apart from that data privacy thing, like you will want the AI to know you very well because it will know your nutrition, your medication. It will be the best doctor it could be. So it will have a ton of data, a ton of information. And we will require a huge amount of memory and not only computing power,
Yeah,
but also
hardware.
memory and storage to handle all this, right? So that's why Micron, their entire supply or production capacity for the next 3 years is already so their 3 year sales is already gone. Whatever they produce over the next years is done.
Crazy.
Okay, it's pretty crazy, right? And can you see my screen?
Yeah, I see your screen. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's why I'm very divided when it comes to the Micron trade because this is a stock that from February 2024 until now is up 1,000%. Okay.
Wow.
But still,
Yeah.
the forward P ratio is 1/3 of what it was in February 24. The forward P ratio is 1/3. So after this stock went up 1,000%, you could argue that actually is cheaper than it was a bit over 2 years ago, which is a crazy thing to say. But this is just to show why the forward P ratio is basically looking at the earnings over the next few years. And the earnings are so good that a stock that
Earnings are
went
so
up
good. Yeah.
1,000% is still cheap. Of course, I have a huge hard time to jump on this stock after going up 1,000% because
Yeah. It's not
psychologically, but
like how much more can
but
you go? What is the
yeah.
for people not in finance? What is the difference between P ratio and forward P ratio, and how do we interpret it differently?
Yeah, so the P ratio is basically based the price to earnings ratio. So it compares the price of the stock with the existing earnings of the last quarter. The
So the
forward P
profit,
ratio,
basically. Yeah.
so the forward P ratio is looking at the projections of the earnings of the upcoming few quarters. Yeah, Micron here, despite the fact that this stock went up 1,000%, out of 52 analysts, 41 say it's a strong buy, 8 say it's buy, only one says it's a sell. And the average price target is 52% above the current price. Of course, these are analysts, they are very often wrong, but this kind of shows that, the projections, the earnings per share, and the revenue projections are really impressive. Just check this out. In 2025, they had $37 billion revenue. For 2026, the estimate is 129 billion. And by 2029, it will be 363 billion. These numbers are so ridiculous. So by 2029, it will be 10x 2025. It's absolutely crazy, right?
What is the growth since ChatGPT was launched? Like when the ChatGPT came to public, basically. Which year was that, and what is the growth that you're seeing?
Well, what was that? I don't know. Was that 2022?
Publicly launched on November 30, 2022. So I would say 2023 then.
Okay, so 23, they sold $15 billion. In 2025, they sold 37.
So it's double then.
So
More than double.
yeah. But now it seems that these growth rates, as you can see here, it's going to 10x in over the coming 4 years, which is
That's crazy.
mind blowing, right?
But yeah, I mean this is always forecast, and we will see what
of course, yeah,
the reality becomes.
of course.
But I think from a first principle thinking, and for everyone that I'm utilizing the tool on a regular basis, I think it's really come back to like we're treating our AI assistant as a virtual assistant or a very smart intern, right? I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, or regardless of who you're working with from a human being, the more context you give to a person about a certain task, then the easier it is. And also references for how to do it in the best way. The easier it is for a person to execute. And that is for human beings. And of course, AI is, it's an artificial intelligence, so it's mimic the brain and the neuron connections, right? So of course, that part is very similar. And then, of course, that should also affect the stock prices for memory companies. So yeah, I want to talk about three different things and bring the conversation in. I think one part is I do see the trend also going towards what you mentioned before. You have agents, you give them a really good context, and you want them to know and like enough a lot about you, which means come back to the cybersecurity issue. Like if there is an like adjacent area of business models and to tap into, this is an interesting area to look into to see what the actual business model is, because this is a big cybersecurity risk for people, including ourselves, you and me. Like, what kind of data do we let out there? I think that's there's both a big risk, but the risk also means a lot of opportunities for creating good solutions for this risk, right? So that is something to discuss in another episode. That's one part. Another part is also the ethical part of utilizing AI that we definitely should talk more about. And that is, my reflection lately has been that when I work with my colleague in the company, then I will share about things about like giving context about business objectives that I'm working on, and context regarding earnings calls or whatever it can be, basically, in order to get the best output as possible. I would not tell that person about my like all the details about my marriage or like my mental health issues, but that is certainly something we see that people do, and that is also a quite dangerous path to go, because AI is amazing, but it's also an echo chamber of for your own thoughts, and we see also suicides coming out. So there is a healthy way of utilizing AI and healthy way of not utilizing AI. That is certainly a moral conversation to have in this space, basically. And I also raised that question because a lot of people are also very afraid they're always afraid for new technology, and a lot of people are very afraid for this technology. I think there's a healthy AI ethics or hygiene to have, what to ask and what kind of information to give and what to not ask. That's another episode about mental health and mental health tool powered by AI, yes or no, and where is the distinctions. That is certainly someone should bring in an expert to discuss.
That's a very interesting discussion indeed. Have you seen recently Claude? If you ask anything weird or if you are rude to Claude, it just closes the chat and doesn't want to talk with you.
No, I have not seen that. I know for Fable, it has been major guardrails in terms of bio questions, right? Because not like Anthropic don't want us to make bioweapons. But that part I have not seen.
Yeah, a friend of mine sent me a screenshot today. He basically he was rude to the AI. Sometimes we all are, because like he's not doing what you want it to do, and the AI is like, I don't accept this. Bye bye.
No way.
Yes.
That is also like a
Like
big
this.
ethical problem. I mean, the whole thing with Fable and like how restrictive it was, it really pushed a backlash, right? And Anthropic closed down Fable. Now today it is up again. But it's also like, should one company nerf our answers? Google, from at least my knowledge, have not done that. But it's freedom of speech.
Yes. Let me just share this one. Maybe
Yeah, I would love to see it.
for us to end today's. Let me know when you can see the screen.
Yeah, I see it.
So my friend says, okay, you second this. And Anthropic reply, I apologize, but I will not provide any responses that violate Anthropic's acceptable use policy or could promote harm. And just basically closes the chat there.
Oh no, did
And
it
then you
downgrade
can
as
see,
well to Sonnet?
I don't know. And then it says at the bottom, this model has safety measures flagged, something in this section, blah, blah, blah.
That's very interesting. And also, since it is it's a machine, right? Of course, you should not be rude to anyone, but yeah, it's certainly a
You know
big
that meme?
more.
You don't know that meme, like a few years from now, we have like the Skynet killing everyone, and they're like, oh, you can spare this guy. He was nice to us. He said thank you.
I haven't seen the beat, but I heard about that kind of narrative. Basically, that's why I'm always a knight to my AI. Basically, because one day
You are extremely nice,
it will
Joseph.
rule
I
the
have to
world.
confirm that. You are the nicest person I
Yeah,
ever met.
thank you. Likewise, Henrique. Okay, I think that is a good. Let's see. A rapid fire close, at least Claude said we should end this on. Bubble or not, one word, then one reason. Enrique, you go.
No bubble.
And reason in one word.
Earnings growth is 2 words. But
That's two. If you don't have a hyphen, maybe you use a hyphen for that. Okay, I also say bubble or not one word. Okay, 2 words then. Hyperbolic utility will be my 2 words.
yes.
Okay, two. The most
Yeah.
overhyped AI use case right now. That's a good one. What is the most overhyped AI use case?
Wow.
I think
Most of
I think the best use case and the worst use case is that I think vibe coding. And if I expand on that, like I see vibe coding is amazing and it gives access to a lot of people to start to code and also real developers to make better products. But it also gives people that are less technical, and I can certainly admit I'm not a developer. I'm more on the business side of marketing and sales. But it can give a lot of people the assumption that they are great product developers and they have one conversation with a prospect and then they build out something that are not useful at all. So I think that is part of the hype. I don't think everyone will be a great developer just because it's easy to vibe code something. What is your take?
I see your point. My take, the most overhyped use case, video generation. Those like, I'm so tired on social media, you have those fake AI videos and AI slop. That's the most overhyped at the moment. Though I think AI for the cinema industry and for animation will be big. I think at the moment it's very overhyped and very misused.
I think something to add to this conversation is really like I want to end on that because we don't want to fall in the pitfall. We just talk about the tech and not talk about actual like help it gives. So what is your 1 to 3 top use cases when AI really has saved your time today, Enrique? And I will answer the same.
I think like the vibe coding definitely. Sometimes I can
Yeah.
develop tools like for my community that really fast forward. Even hiring, to be honest, even hiring a developer will take much longer than sometimes just vibe coding. Then I would say also for text editing, I really hate AI generated text, but I like to write my stuff and then having AI reviewing being my editor. I think that will be the second. Yeah, those two mainly, I think, saves a lot of time.
Okay.
And
I
you?
think for me, I think it's 3 areas. Like one is I've never been able to generate like sales material in terms of slide decks at the speed and accuracy and the graphical, not perfection, but graphical decent on point as quickly as I do now, utilizing Claude and also Claude Design. That is certainly been a big unlock. Secondly is like I was okay doing a spreadsheet before, but now I can build spreadsheet like a great analyst or banker with just talking, and that helps for all kind of optimization for sales, for marketing, for all kind of operations. And third,
I've seen some of those that you have created, and they look really good.
Yeah, it's very efficient. And then I think third is that I can generate agreements now in my sales processes in a way that I certainly didn't have the opportunity to do before. That said, I don't trust that it's perfectly legally by any means. You should definitely consult a lawyer to set up your agreements, but at least I can create something that are feasible to align with the stakeholders that I'm aligning with in every kind of sales process. And I think that is a great unlock. And that is like real use cases that I would have spent weeks on instead of now spending like an hour or two on. And that I don't need to take lots of courses to learn anymore because I can just chat. So that's a couple of
Precisely.
clear use cases that actually lead to money.
Agree.
And that actually leads to opportunities and solving real pain point for real people quicker.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching the first episode and see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.